Imagine this. You're living your life, just having a normal day. But then, suddenly, aliens come down from the sky and start destroying everything in sight. They have lasers that evaporate people into nothing. Crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what War of the Worlds is about. Get ready for a roller coaster of a story where people are just trying to survive. In case you're new here, our method is really simple. First of all, you're gonna watch the clips with subtitles. Then I'm gonna teach you some of the most important vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation from the clips. Finally, at the end of the lesson, you're gonna have the chance to watch the clips again, this time without subtitles, so you can test your listening skills. And if you want to be able to understand your favorite movies and TV series without getting lost, without missing the jokes, and without subtitles, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and bell down below so you don't miss a single new video. Now let's get started. Tom Cruise plays Ray, a regular guy facing an extraordinary problem. When strange aliens attack Earth and start destroying everything in their way, Ray needs to take his two children and escape from the extraterrestrial invaders. The movie is like a really intense adventure where Ray tries to survive and keep his kids safe. Next, let's watch a clip when Ray meets a survivor named Harlan Ogilvy, who offers him and his daughter a place to hide from the aliens.
Harlan Ogilvy.
Ray Ferrier.
I got water. Food enough for weeks. You're welcome to stay, both of you.
Sorry. Better get some sleep.
Those machines, those tripods they got, they buried them right under our feet. Since before there were even people here. They've been planning this for 1,000,000 years. We're beat to shit.
Please. My daughter.
Think about it. They defeated the greatest power in the world in a couple days. Walked right over us. And these are only the first. They'll keep coming. This is not a war any more than there's a war between men and maggots. This is an extermination. I got water. Food enough for weeks. You're welcome to stay, both of you.
Saying yous is an informal, colloquial way of saying you. It's generally not considered appropriate for formal or professional settings, and may even be considered uneducated speech in those contexts. However, it can be perfectly acceptable and even expected in casual conversations among friends or in certain cultural contexts. It's also important to point out that yous is primarily used in some dialects of English, particularly in Ireland, parts of Scotland, Australia, and certain regions of the United States.
I know it is. What are you guys looking at? Go back to work. All of you.
Oh! 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 Let's do. We need to talk to you, huh?
What do you want? Better get some sleep.
So we have a going to sentence here. A typical reduction for going to is gonna, I'm gonna. But here in the movie, we actually hear it even more reduced. Tom Cruise's character says, I'm gonna. Alright? And then the T for get becomes get. It's a stop T or stop consonant that we have there. Get. So putting it together, we have, I'm gonna get some sleep.
Better get some sleep.
They buried him right under our feet.
Right under our feet. Let's study the connected speech. So, right under. The T for right becomes a flap sound, rara, which joins with under, the vowel, U. So, right under. right under, all right? And then our feet. The T for feet is not really fully pronounced. This is a stop T again, so I say feet, feet, right under our feet, right under our feet.
Right under our feet. They've been planning this for 1,000,000 years. We're beat to shit. Please.
If you feel beat, you feel extremely tired or exhausted. But in this context, the phrase "we're beat to shit" is used to emphasize how the characters are extremely exhausted and emotionally affected because they have been trying to defend themselves against the aliens.
You know, I thought dogs was gonna be an easy way to make money. I was half right.
You look all beat to shit.
Yeah.
They defeated the greatest power in the world in a couple days.
This phrase is an informal way of expressing a short duration of time, typically referring to 2 days. It's commonly used in casual conversation to express the idea of a brief period, often without specifying exact dates or times. For example, "I'll be away for a couple days" indicates that the speaker will be absent for approximately 2 days. In the movie, Ogilvy is referring to the United States military as the greatest power in the world and how the aliens have defeated it in only 2 days. What's also interesting is that the character says "a couple days" instead of "a couple of days," which makes it sound even more informal.
Again, I'm sorry if I caused you any trouble.
Oh, no, you didn't cause me any trouble. You got me home. And a little late. Couple days.
What? No, I'm supposed to go to the Grove with my friends.
Oh, really? How long have you been planning that?
A couple days.
Oh, yeah, I've been planning this for a couple of months, girl.
They defeated the greatest power in the world in a couple days. Walked right over us.
If you walk right over someone, you act in a way that shows that you consider the other person to be insignificant or irrelevant. For example, during the meeting, the manager walked right over us and made decisions without consulting our team. But in this context, since the story is about aliens destroying humankind, this expression can be understood more literally. It's like the aliens with their tripods are literally walking over people and cities and destroying everything in sight. But this expression actually reminds me of another expression, to walk all over someone. If you walk all over someone, you take advantage of that person's kindness and generosity. You don't treat the other person with dignity and respect.
Oh, give it up! Your band has never made 2 cents!
Patty, come on, I'm on this.
Oh, you're on this? You're on this? He's walking all over you!
Mommy, could we please talk about this later?
This is not a war any more than there's a war between men and maggots. This is an extermination.
In its literal sense, maggots are the larvae of flies, often found in decaying organic matter. In this context, the word maggots is used metaphorically to refer to a group of individuals considered inferior, insignificant, or powerless compared to another group. In this case, the aliens would be considered the superior group, while humans are the maggots who get exterminated easily. Do you love learning English with movies and TV series? Then you gotta check out the exclusive flashcard deck we have prepared for this lesson on the Real Life app. Instead of having to take a lot of notes from this lesson, you can simply watch this lesson inside the app and activate a deck of exclusive flashcards for you to practice all this vocabulary you're learning today. That's why I want to invite you to take a simple but powerful step towards your English fluency. Download the Real Life app and claim your exclusive flashcards for this lesson. It's free. The link is in the description. Download it and follow the instructions to unlock many flashcards. You're gonna love it. By the way, did you know that War of the Worlds is actually a novel written by H.G. Wells? The book was published in 1898, and in the 1930s there was the first adaptation of the book to audio format, which played on the radio. This adaptation was done by Orson Welles. Let me read a bit of that adaptation for you. We now know that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own.
We know now that as human beings busy themselves about their various concerns.
Pretty cool, isn't it? Now let's watch a clip from an interview where Tom Cruise is talking about working with Steven Spielberg on this movie.
What makes working with Mr. Spielberg different from other directors?
And Mr. Spielberg, is that your dad?
That's my dad. What makes working for my dad different than working for other dads? And what do you take away from your experience working with him?
Well, now I'm going to really embarrass Steven. But I'm actually going to, I really don't care. Because the truth is that what everyone knows is that Steven Spielberg is the greatest storyteller cinema has ever known. Every director is very different, but I can just tell you what it's like working with Steven Spielberg, which is, it is a creative combustion. It's not an analytical, it's not a mechanical process. It's an inspired process and something that just happens on the moment. Although this was the fastest pre-production, and the scale of this film is the largest scale that I have ever been a part of. And I've produced and acted in big films, but with Steven, I never felt rushed.
And what do you take away from your experience working with him?
And what do you take away from your experience working with him is the same as, and what do you take with you or extract from that experience? A takeaway is exactly something that you take or extract from an experience, a movie, a book, a podcast, anything that you experience or consume. In my case, for example, I always ask my students this at the end of our lessons together. I usually ask them, okay guys, we're done with the class, what is your takeaway from today? In other words, what is one big idea that you take with you from this session?
And what do you take away from your experience working with him?
Well, now I'm going to really embarrass Steven.
When you embarrass someone, you make that person feel shy or uncomfortable, especially in public. But here, Tom Cruise is saying that he's going to embarrass Steven because Tom Cruise is about to say a lot of positive things, great things about Spielberg. And Spielberg might be a little bit uncomfortable with all this praise.
But I'm actually going to, I really don't care.
Tom Cruise does something interesting with the word but here. Notice that he joins but with the schwa sound, The schwa sound, is the resting sound we make when we are thinking about what we're gonna say next. So this is very common. Some natives do that a lot. They go, but, as a way to give them those 2-3 seconds to think before continue speaking.
But I'm actually gonna, I really don't care, because the truth is that what everyone knows is that Steven Spielberg is the greatest storyteller cinema has ever known.
What everyone knows. The T for what again becomes a flap T sound, rara, which is joined with the vowel e for everyone. So, what everyone knows.
But I'm actually gonna, I really don't care, because the truth is that what everyone knows is that Steven Spielberg is the greatest storyteller cinema has ever known.
This is a great use of superlative with a present perfect sentence. This is really common. Usually we use a superlative sentence, for example, this is the greatest movie, or this is the best book, and at the end of that sentence we use a present perfect clause with have ever. So, this is the greatest movie I have ever seen, or this is the best book I have ever read. It's like in my life, all right? So when Tom Cruise says that Steven Spielberg is the greatest storyteller cinema has ever known, that's what he means, that there's nobody in the history of cinema that is as great of a storyteller as Steven Spielberg.
What everyone knows is that Steven Spielberg is the greatest storyteller cinema has ever known. Every director is very different, but I can just tell you what it's like working with Steven Spielberg.
Notice that Tom Cruise doesn't say different, but the T again here has a stop sound. It's a stop consonant. He goes different.
Every director is very different, but I can just tell you what it's like working with Steven Spielberg.
This is a great phrase, what it's like, or what is it like, if you want to ask a question. We tend to think about how first, right? We tend to say, how is working with Steven Spielberg? But a more natural, colloquial way to ask this is by using what is it like.
It's an inspired process and something that just happens on the moment.
Just happens on the moment. So just here has the T dropped. I say just, and then just happens. The as for happens has a Z sound, so I join the Z sound with the on preposition. Happens on, just happens on the moment.
It's an inspired process and something that just happens on the moment.
When I heard Tom Cruise saying this, I thought it was a bit weird though, because we usually say in the moment or at the moment, but here he's saying on the moment. This is possibly a slip of the tongue. A slip of the tongue is when you know the right way to say something, but because you are nervous or you are thinking about something else or you are not really paying attention so much to what you're saying, you might have these slips of the tongue when you speak something not 100% correctly because you are distracted or not really focusing on the language you are using. This goes to show that even natives sometimes make mistakes. So think about that.
Although this was the fastest pre-production and the scale of this film is the largest scale that I have ever been a part of.
Alright, here we have examples of superlative in English. Tom Cruise says the fastest and the largest. Do you remember the rules? The rules are really simple. For one-syllable words or smaller words, we tend to add EST. So large becomes largest, the largest, and fast becomes the fastest. Now, if you have a word that is a little bit bigger, like 2, 3, or more syllables, then we say the most. The opposite of the most would be the least beautiful, the least dangerous. And of course, remember the purpose of the superlative. A superlative sentence is not really comparing two people or three things. You are picking one person or one thing and putting that on top of everyone else. So this is the largest movie. There isn't any other movie that compares to this one. Or this is the fastest production. There isn't any other production that compares to this one. So superlative is not really comparative. Remember this.
Although this was the fastest pre-production and the scale of this film is the largest scale that I have ever been a part of.
Work on acted speech. I have ever been a part of. So he says, I have ever, been. So the N for been joins with the vowel A, been, and the A here has a schwa sound, been a part of. The T for part, again, flap sound, which joins with of, part of. And the vowel O for of also has a schwa sound, so part of. So, I have ever been a part of.
And I've produced and acted in big films, but with Steven, I never felt rushed.
When you feel rushed to do something, you feel pressured because you don't have much time and you feel like you have to finish that thing quickly. That's usually not a good feeling to have. Now, this actually reminds me of a nice expression. What a rush. If you say what a rush, you mean that you have just experienced an exciting situation, something that made you feel really good and that elevated your dopamine levels. And then you could say, what a rush. Alright, so now it's time to watch the scenes again and test your listening skills. I have also prepared some questions for you to answer, and let's see how you do.
They buried him. Right under our feet. Since before there were even people here. They've been planning this for 1,000,000 years. We're beat to shit. Please. My daughter. Think about it.
What is the literal meaning of the phrase I'm beat? I'm really angry. I'm really tired. I'm really scared.
They defeated the greatest power in the world in a couple days. Walked right over us. And these are only the first. They'll keep coming. This is not a war any more than there's a war between men and maggots. This is an extermination.
Which image shows maggots?
But I'm actually gonna, I really don't care, because the truth is that what everyone knows is that Steven Spielberg is the greatest storyteller cinema has ever known. Every director is very different, but I can just tell you what it's like working with Steven Spielberg, which is, it is a creative combustion. It's not an analytical, it's not a...
Write the correct superlative form of the following adjectives: slow, expensive, far. The slowest, the most expensive, the farthest, or the furthest. Alright, great job guys, but now I have a question for you. What is your takeaway from this lesson? What is that one thing that you extracted from today's lesson? Share your takeaway here under the video in the comment section because I'm curious to see them, alright? Guys, great job, you've made it until the end of the lesson. You rock. Don't forget to like this video, share this video with a friend who's also learning English, and subscribe to the channel in case you're not a subscriber yet. And if you want to keep learning English while having a ton of fun, check out this next lesson. Bye-bye.
It's really easy to become complacent.
Imagine you have a friend who's been doing well in their job or life, and they're feeling pretty comfortable with where they are. Being complacent is like when you get so comfortable that you become a bit lazy or too relaxed. It's when you stop trying to improve or challenge yourself because you're satisfied with how things are.